The DNC is under new management. A breath of fresh air, as they say.
They're really going to turn this thing around now.
Yeah, they're on it.
I must say it has been a really, really remarkable thing to watch this ultimate, what I think is the final act of an attempt at progressivism without an economic theory undergirding it. This is what the final outcome of that experiment is. I was thinking about this before the show. I don't know that anyone's ever really pushed this concept this far. It within an actual political party with actual political power.
Right.
Like usually that kind of very decadent emphasis on leftism as a lifestyle brand, that was really the province of wealthy intellectuals. I don't think a political party has ever attempted to be left and Wall Street at the same time. To be a wealthy left with nothing but identitarian issues. And what it looks like in the end, whether you laugh or cry, I guess depends on your temperament, maybe a little bit of both. I think you'll probably find a lot of the footage pretty funny if you haven't seen it already. So what makes it even kind of funnier or more tragic is the Democrats put on this display you're about to see while they're trying to recover from record unpopularity.
Yeah.
This week has produced fresh evidence of just how far the party has fallen. This is from Unheard. A new Quinnipiac poll has found that the Democrats' favorability rating among the public sits at 31%, its lowest point since the firm began tracking that question back in 2008. Meanwhile, 57% hold an unfavorable view. This isn't just due to a general dissatisfaction among voters. On the other side, Republicans essentially break even, with 43% of the public viewing them favorably, a historic high in this poll, versus 45% unfavorably. It's not just Quinnipiac either. A CNN survey from this month showed that nearly one-third, 32%, of Democratic-leaning adults said the political events of the past few years made them feel like they've been pushed away from the party, compared to 23% who said they feel closer to it. Now, whenever you see these numbers, I just want to point this out because it's a very easy thing to run past. Republicans will tend to say that they represent the average person, but clearly they do not, because even now, with the Democrats at a historic level of unpopularity, the Republicans are still underwater
Right.
on people viewing them favorably. And that's a historic high in the poll.
Yes.
The liberal class, by representing themselves as the only left political option, just destroyed any chance that the left had to make a case. They got between the left and the public and represented their nonsense, their just completely unmoored identitarian nonsense, as what the left is. And even so, the Republicans are so repulsive. They're still underwater. They're still underwater. That is the answer to anyone who says, people just aren't on the left. People just don't like left ideas.
Well, no, I mean, both things complement each other, because this is, so just so everybody knows, it says that this is the low point since they started doing the poll back in 2008. That doesn't mean this is their lowest point since 2008. Democrats were actually relatively popular in 2008. That was the end of Bush and the beginning of Obama.
Right.
That means this is the lowest they've ever polled since the creation of the poll, which happened to be in 2008. And generally speaking, Democrats almost always outpoll Republicans in terms of favorability.
Yeah.
That's why generally high turnout elections tend to favor Democrats, because Democrats' problem usually is lack of turnout when they lose. But Democrats almost always outpoll Republicans in favorability. They almost always outregister them. So the fact that they're now, 12 points behind them and at 31%, I mean, that is dismal. That is dismal. That means there's essentially statistically zero swing voters on your side now. 31%
Right.
is about the size of the
That's your
Democratic
base.
base, and that's it.
it.
Yeah.
You got your base. Those are the only people left.
Yep.
All right. So they had an election for DNC chair this weekend. And before that election, they had a little town hall kind of get together with MSNBC with Jonathan Capehart. I forget the name of the other one. And that kind of foreshadowed pretty clearly what people were going to be in for.
Begin with the opening statements. Each candidate will have 30 seconds, and we'll start with Dr. Quintessa Hathaway.
Good evening, everyone. It is my desire to be the next DNC chair, and I just want to give you all a little bit of something that's been on my heart here over the last couple of days. You fight on, you fight on, you fight
She got lost on the way to the third-party debate.
Right, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
When your government is doing you wrong, you fight on, oh, you fight on.
Brought them all
I have
back
a show
home
of
with that
hands.
one.
How many of you believe that racism and misogyny played a role in Vice President Harris's defeat?
Look at the laughing in the crowd. Oh, what an obvious
Okay.
question.
No, wait. Listen to what it says.
That's good. You all passed.
You all passed.
In October of 2024, a large part, about 1/3 of Trump's advertising budget, went specifically to this one ad. It was about gender-changing surgeries for a small number of transgender, incarcerated, undocumented immigrants. These particular ads ended with the line, "Kamala is for they, them, President Trump is for you." How should Democrats respond to this attack?
Our party has to live its values. Everyone has dignity. Our party
the winner.
believes that no
That's
matter
the
where
winner.
you're from,
That's your
no
new
matter where you
DNC
live,
chair.
no matter who you love or who you are, you have dignity, and we're going to fight for you. And that's what we're going to do as a Democratic Party.
So wasn't "we live our values"? That was the Tom Perez line, right? That was the old Tom Perez line.
When we lead with our values,
When we lead with our
win.
values, we
When we
win.
lead with our values. Now, Lee Fong pointed out here, he wrote a whole article about this. I'm going to show a little bit of that. MSNBC host moderating the DNC event kept badgering the candidates for chair on how to deal with voters who are racist and sexist. Faiz Shakir was the only candidate to eschew identity politics and say the DNC should try shaping the discourse by elevating working class voices. Keaton, you want to say a little bit about his background?
Well, he was the Bernie 2020 campaign manager, and he also has a history with, I believe, Center for American Progress. So, he is sort of the hybrid. He is sort of the glue that could potentially hold together the progressive wing with the, blood-sucking John Podesta near a tandem type. So not good, but probably the best you could hope for if you actually wanted to maybe win an election ever again. Right? Like, I'm not here to sing the praises of Faiz Shakir. I'm not a Democrat. I never will be again. So ultimately, it's not my problem. But, like, if you wanted to maybe win the presidency ever again, he would be the best shot you had, I would think, on that stage. And this is why.
Yes. Also, I didn't know this. So if I'm understanding him correctly, he started More Perfect Union, which they do some very good documentary work. We might invite somebody on from the Whole Foods Union Drive in Philadelphia. They just did a video about that. So yeah, no, he can speak for himself, but he makes the point. Hey, I went out and did these progressive documentaries. They get millions of views.
Right, so, Faz, I'll come to you on this one. Given that President Trump ran and he openly and consistently employed racist and misogynistic rhetoric on the campaign trail, we cannot ignore the role of fear and hate in Vice President Harris's defeat. How would you, as DNC chair, handle voter prejudices while also addressing their real concerns about substantive policy issues?
I want to answer that while I discuss the media thing, because I've been for now 4 years, 4 years ago, launched a media organization, run a media organization called More Perfect Union that focused on doing video-based journalism. And it has wildly succeeded. We got 400+ million views last year. The YouTube channel is now over 1.4 million subscribers. By comparison, the Democratic channel has 76,000 that started in 2006. What is going on? It isn't a problem of tubes.
Yeah, you know, we were a little rushed today. I didn't get a chance to look that up. I'm assuming those numbers are right. That is insane. They're one of the two only viable political parties in the country. They have 76,000. We have more subscribers than the Democratic Party based on what he just said.
Yeah. As we
in
should.
pipes.
As Kit
It
would
is
say.
As we
content.
should.
You have to wake up every day with a direction of what type of content will work on these platforms. Now, in my view, in these moments, and this kind of answers your question, the power of the Democratic Party is people. We put videographers on the ground working with our state parties. When Trump attacks, he goes after Medicaid. We tell stories about the people on Medicaid. I promise you, when you put a McDonald's worker or a Walmart's worker on a video explaining how my life is helped by Medicaid, it will be both good content, it gets out of the partisanship, because often those pieces of content may be in red states. They may be people who voted Trump. But if we focus on these kinds of economic justice issues, I believe we have an opportunity to bring people in who may not agree with us on racial, cultural, and other social justice matters. But when they see that Democratic Party put economic justice as a primacy issue, I do believe that it is our long-held, proud lineage. That's what they want to support.
Dr. Hathaway,
Loser.
same question to you.
Loser.
How would you,
Loser. No, thank you. No, thank you.
Okay, so I'm just going to warn anyone watching this segment. That is the last non-cringe thing you're going to hear
Yeah.
from any of the video content for the rest of this presentation. And yeah, any of us, a lot of us came out of the Bernie movement. At this point, we're over it. We're not going to be like, yeah, let's try to get him to become third string vice chair to the assistant of the president. We're not doing it. We're not, because we know, look what happened. What traction did this guy get? He's the only one who made any sense of anyone running for chair. And what you have to understand, and I think what this whole thing made very clear, the fact that they collapsed as a party this completely, and they're not even willing to entertain the idea of changing. Remember, these people, their whole training is in a certain direction. The whole vocabulary that they've learned to speak as politics speak, their idea of what that is all within this framework of identitarianism. They wouldn't even know how to pivot away from that. So when you tell them, yeah, listen, we got to get away from this, what you're telling them is, I'm going to take your power away. When you got a woman like that who thinks it's a great idea to sing like she's in Selma in order to present herself for a chair position in a party that at least partly collapsed because of a focus on that kind of a gesture over actual articulation of economic policies. When you got a whole party made up of people like that, they're strongly incentivized to resist change, because in a changed Democratic Party of the kind he's describing, there's no place for them.
Well, also, not only is all the training and the vocabulary oriented in that direction, but all of the incentives are oriented in that direction. This, we talked about DEI, for the last couple of weeks. And, I made the point that, the people eventually caught on. Not that diversity is a bad thing. There's a country that voted for Barack Obama twice. But that diversification of the ruling class does not necessarily do anything for the workers. And this is what you have in this hallway, is you have a diversified ruling elite of the Democratic Party that is very proud of the fact that they are such a diversified ruling elite of the Democratic Party.
Exactly.
So the whole expression of that is a celebration of them.
Right.
That's
Well,
how they
they-
got
well, they-
where they are. They got where they are, not just by being a certain thing, but by touting that as a
Right.
virtue, absent all other virtue, absent
Right.
an economic message, absent, a foreign policy message. I mean, these are the same. You come up there and sing like you're marching with Martin Luther King. Your party just did a genocide.
Right.
Your party just slaughtered colonized brown people for 15 months straight.
Right.
And you're going to come up there and you got blown out in the election. And now you're going to come up there and do that.
Right. Right. And yet you're going to sing like you're marching on the South.
Right.
But if you look at the language they speak, if you look at the ideas, it really is this is where, okay, these people like Peter Boghossian and these right-wing intellectuals certainly abuse Marxism and the term Marxism. They really, muddy it. But did they take a very loose framework of Marxism and pervert it? Yes. Whereas in a real workers' party, you'd have people up there pulling rank by saying, yes, I grew up in the coal pits. I worked with my hands from when I was 6. That's how you would invoke status, right? But if you take all of the economics out of a left movement, what do you got? I am a bisexual Latina Afro with a limp.
Right.
Right? Like that takes the place of that because you can't go to the economics because you're too busy defending your billionaire donors, as we'll see a little bit later.
Please clap.